Hello, welcome to the 11th day of October 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, a live video exercise that I do in the increasingly dark morning, as every day gets darker as we move into autumn. This is something that I do to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours, how I did with any particular noteworthy challenges or opportunities that I met. I go over my creed and I prepare for the coming day. But first, hello, good morning, Crystal. First, welcome to my, hello to new subscribers to the channel. And I want to say thank you for coming. This is a journal entry that I do. It's think of it as a live journal. So as such, I talk about my own life, my own challenges, and the opportunities that I face, and try to highlight where I've done well and where I've done poorly, and how I can learn and improve from either. As such, it's open field. I can talk about anything I want for as long as I want, or as little as I want. I do talk about sensitive subjects as well. So if you're new and you're squeamish about topics like death, then be forewarned. I do want to say especially thank you to my YouTube members like Crystal. Thank you, Crystal. You mean the world to me, and I really do appreciate your support. My Patreon supporters, and to everybody who watches my videos, your support, especially as I begin to embark more and more out into the world again. You know, now that I've settled into this home here, your support really means a lot. It helps out, fuels the video process. Anyway, let's get started. Over the last 24 hours, my only note that I have was that yesterday was a good day. It was an interesting day. It had the structure of work, even with, it's at least my AM has really become highly structured. And with the introduction this week of, now with the cooler weather, the walking the dog in Japan outings, that structure has begun to bleed over into the afternoons, which results in a rather full day of work, of a purposeful, meaningful activity. So what that means is that I felt like I have meetings in the morning. I like meetings when they go well. This is the first of them, this 5:30 a.m. Japan time Good Life meditation. I even enjoy the fact that people even show up to the meeting, including regulars, and that means a lot to me. So this feels like a very positive, constructive meeting with people that I really like. I then have the new meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning, Japan time, from 10 to 10:30, my daily Monday through Friday office hours, which has been proven to be a very useful thing as well. I sit there, I strum my guitar, people show up, and we talk. I feel like it's we're actually face to face, so to speak, right? I mean, it's like a Zoom meeting. So unlike this, where it's just me talking at you and I get the feedback with the comments, on Discord, I can actually talk to people, and that's good as well. That takes me to 10:30 in the morning. My office hour is just 30 minutes. And from 10:30, I've been taking the dog out with the dog stroller on an outing, which lasts until about 2 o'clock. And we have lunch while we're out. That is the main thrust of the day. So as a project manager in the past, the way I would structure my days, I would have my morning activities of having breakfast, getting ready for work, commuting to work. For me now, that's morning exercise with the community, dog walk, and having breakfast with my wife. And then I have in the morning as a project manager, I would have a couple of meetings in the morning, team meetings, meeting with the other project managers, maybe a standing team meeting with various teams within the organization. And then the day would commence. The day would consist of me doing activities that were more of a business analyst type of activities, writing documents, following up on email, working things out with the team, reviewing documents, etc. That's what the structure of the midday activity with the walking and the dog in Japan activity is. Walking about in the community at a very slow and deliberate pace, following the pace of my little dog, seeing things, videotaping things, photographing things, writing blog posts, journal entries, etc. And then having lunch, and then wandering my way back. In the evening yesterday, since it was Friday, my wife Yumiko and I went out to dinner, and over dinner she asked me, "How was your day?" Just like we used to talk when we were both working. And I thought that was ironic because we don't usually ask that question of one another because we're always together. So there's no need to ask because we know how our day was. We were together. But now that I'm doing the walking in the dog in Japan activity, and I was apart and doing my thing out in the community, she had good cause to ask because she hadn't seen me for a handful of hours in the midday. I explained that the day went well, and then and I told her that lunch was a little bit problematic because I didn't like leaving Rudy in the dog cart outside the store while I went into the convenience store while I went in to get my lunch. And then Yumiko proposed a very interesting and generous idea. She said, well, what if Kurt and I was to make bento for you? Like back in the day, she used to make box lunch for Yumiko and for Emily and I, our daughter, in the day. And I told her that would be delightful. Now we'll see how that pans out. Certainly not something that I expect or even hope for regularly, but if she was to make me a box lunch to send out on my day, that would feel more like work. So it was a good day, and I would almost say a good day of, I want to say work, but it wasn't work. It felt of productivity. But good, it was just a good day. A good day is all I need. I don't need any extra words on top of that. Okay, now my creed consists of 8 objectives and 35 principles. The 8 objectives are to be, and you can read these in my book, Going Alone, in the chapter titled The Good Life. To be always ready to die, to make good and effective use of time, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to perform good actions relative to my values, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly, deliberately, and carefully, and to maintain my balance. My one principle that I'm going to read for today is going to be the pirate ride, one of my favorite principles. A little bit involved in this one. The pirate ride is a strangely named principle that I came up with when I was going through the Pirates of the Caribbean ride on a trip to Disneyland with my family a few years back. And I was struck by the pirates. If you've been on the ride, you'll go on a boat through like Louisiana bayous, and you're passing little small towns, and there's animatronic pirates doing their things, shooting their guns, chasing women around in a circle, in jail, trying to beg the keys from the dog. And even the dog and the women and the pirates, they're animatronic doing their things on their locomotive tracks of machinery. And I was reminded of how my own thinking that free will is an illusion. I don't think that we have it. I can't prove it. I hold it on faith that free will is an illusion. Yeah, but Kurt, don't you say faith is a sin? Yeah, it is. But hey, we all sin. So, but anyway, I hold it on faith that free will is an illusion. And I latched on to the pirates doing their thing as an illustration of that we live our lives in much the same way that the pirates do, although our animatronics, our mechanics, and our mechanisms and our motivations are far more complicated and robust, so much so as to give us the impression that we are willful agents of our own. We are certainly agents, but willful, I don't know that that's the case. We certainly seem to have some sort of a feeling that feels like control, but my argument basically boils down to this, and it's unprovable. I have no epistemology to demonstrate that this is true, but it basically boils down to this. If you were to be able to rewind the clock to any moment in your life, maybe a moment where you made a decision to go left when you, in hindsight, realized you should have gone right. If you could rewind the clock and do that moment again, you would make the exact same, and then play it forward, you would make the exact same decision each and every time. This is because we have no ability to do anything other than follow the precedent of inertia that our life leads us, and under the influence of all of the forces around us of consequence and interaction of potential, of kinetic release of energy. There's all these things that are happening that are basically wind down basically to physics and chemistry that are largely out of our control. The machinations of the universe at large conspire to direct my decision making in ways that I have maybe a little real knowledge of the comprehensive nature of that. And for some reason, well, I know it's not some reason, it's because we need to feel like we have the artifice of free will. We are under the impression that it is our own guidance and control, when in fact the decisions are the consequence of of endless streams of dominoes falling from every direction around us. And if the universe were to replay itself over and over again, we'd always make the same decision every single time. Because, in fact, we make a decision that is the path of least resistance in all cases in the direction of survival. That's my case against free will. And I wrote it and tried to encapsulate that in the principle titled The Pirate Ride, which I will now read. The Pirate Ride. And there's a quote here by John Keats. And he's awake who thinks himself asleep. There is no good reason to imagine we are anything but atoms and molecules, and compounds and organs, and muscles and limbs, and brain and mind instantiated through energy borrowed of the sun and the internal heat of the earth in alignment with the inertia of the universe. That is it. In a sense, a very crude sense, we are complex chemical reactions, natural processes, unwinding through brief years, months, and days towards some conclusion which a sufficiently powerful computer algorithm might one day plot and predict. We are decision engines driven by the universe at large. In a sense, our destiny was always set, with our deliberations and decisions being just some distinct moments of seeming agency along our chemical unwinding from conception to death, a pathway we could hardly avoid or choose otherwise, a route decided not by us, but instead by the complex orchestrations of a universe which delivered us into life, and mindlessly conspires during every moment we live to nudge and jostle us into every decision and action we vainly think our own. Life a purposeless, river-like meander. We live, we experience, we think, we decide, and we move, but never truly of our own volition, and always on the path of our law-bound chemical unwinding. Yeah, law-bound chemical unwinding. I think that boils it down, if I do say so myself, and I did. Life, therefore, is like a Disney theme park pirate ride, an unintentional horror, joy, and amusement in which the robot pirates and the living riders are one. We live our lives then along seemingly invisible tracks we can never jump or escape, for we lack utterly the will to do anything but stay our course. And though we can make any decisions we like, we can never have made any decisions other than the ones we did. Rest my case for a case I cannot make. All right, so that's that for that. The next 24 hours, well, it's going to be a weighty and insignificant 24 hours. I alluded several times to a situation that's happening in the sphere of my life, and that situation continues. It's a very big situation. I'm not sharing details because it's not my situation, but it's a situation to which I can have a positive influence if I can find a way to do so, and I'm working on that. So my plan for today, it's a Saturday, is to give some thought to that. Yumiko and her sister are going out to do some shopping or whatever they're going to do today, and I think I'm going to take the car and take a drive into the mountains and maybe take a hike and think over this situation. Plan and maybe plot and conspire how I can maybe do something. And if so, what I can do and how I can do it. And is it raining? By gosh, it is. I guess no morning exercise this morning. That's good. Any time to think. All right, let's read comments. Sorry, I forgot my microphone this morning. Good morning to you, Crystal, again. It's good to see you. Tim says, good morning, weather check. Just a second. Weather check for the UK at 9:40 p.m. is 8.9 C and 92%. Here at Tim, it's 20 degrees spot on. And I think I can read that is 80%. So things are happening. Another calm, cloudy day in the UK. Robert says hello to Chris, Tim, and reports 61 degrees and 43% humidity with an AQI of 23. in Napanee, Ontario, Canada, where Tim says hi to Robert. Evelyn says hi to Kurt. That would be me. Crystal, Robert, and Tim. Robert says hi to Evelyn. Tim says hi to Evelyn. 14B, good to see you again. It's been a while. Says, good morning, Kurt. Have you ever read the book of Proverbs? It contains a lot of similar observations of yours. Maybe you'd find a little mind in there. Yeah, I have read it. In fact, I have, I think I gave Proverbs the last word in going alone. Let's see. No, I gave Ecclesiastes the last word. Yes, I have read the Proverbs. And I agree, there is a lot of many pearls, as they say there. I lost my place. Where am I? Hold on. Well, there's a lot of comments. I have to go way back. There we go. 14b continues. I think the very fact that we are in bodies we didn't choose, with urges we didn't design, demonstrates our lack of free will. At baseline, however, we do seem to make choices with consequences. It's the interesting thing, huh? It really does feel like we do have free will, huh? It feels like it. Sarah, hi Sarah, good morning. Tim says, what's your view on maintaining a routine in retirement, Kurt? Does routine serve a purpose when you have all the time in the world now? I get into a bit of a headstrong discussion with another retiree. Well, for me, routine is the infrastructure in which my life takes place. So yeah, I find it to be very important. I don't think I could just float. Ray says, hello Ray, good to see you. Morning to me. 16C and 68%, typical fall day, cloudy with a little bit of light rain. That would be in Washington State. Hello, Claude. We are creatures of habit. We become monotonous. I will break this monotony by escaping to Nagoya and environs. Happy weekend to all. Welcome back to Japan, Claude. It's good to have you. It's good to have you back in country, and I hope you enjoy your trip to Nagoya. 14b says to Penguin, routine, to Tim that is, routine is so necessary. Without it, you have no bones, basically. Yeah, so like I said, infrastructure, which feels like bones. Robert says hello to Sarah, Ray, and Claude. Tim says, I still think it's important to maintain some sort of routine to give purpose and a good use of time, but the person I was discussing with it said, it's pointless. Why would you need any sort of routine? Well, I guess some people can float, huh? Maybe they don't. I mean, for me, my routine helps me to deliver the good ends that I seek to deliver in the course of my life. I don't want my life to just to be consumption and living. It needs to be building and constructing and forging something of order and seeming meaning out of the structure, out of the inventory of the universe, right? Routine gives me that, or helps to facilitate that. Tim says to 14b that Tim agrees with 14b. Wait, no, yeah, that's right. Crystal says, I need a little routine. I don't like surprises, but I also crave freedom. I tend to plan only 1 to 2 things for the day and chill the rest. I'm like you, though. I find it hard to sit still. Yeah, like you, I just plan a few things. And in fact, I've started using this whiteboard up here, this blackboard, to catalog exactly those things that I do. Sarah says, nothing like mountain air to let the mind think. Yeah. Sarah, I'm probably going to go back to a village that I haven't been to since I returned that has a lot of memories. Sarah says, I don't enjoy resting until I've had some productivity. It's always more enjoyable if I've earned it. Sarah says, I find I don't enjoy resting until I've had some. Yes. Me too. I can't rest easy until I've done something good and useful. 14b says, your clock bell rang 10 minutes early where I'm in Massachusetts. This clock, 10b, doesn't keep time. It keeps its own time. Excuse me, it's never on time. Pardon me, I don't know what's going on. And it chimes its own chime. It doesn't make any sense, rhyme, or reason. The clock will say 4 o'clock and it'll chime 6 times. I've even heard it chime 13 times. I call it the perfect retired guy's clock because it doesn't tell me what their time is, and its chimes mean nothing. And yet I love hear it tick tick ticking away. In fact, it's a great memento mori clock, because it tick tick ticks, and it reminds me that time is passing, but what time it is isn't of really much importance. Crystal says, getting out for a walk or two most days has been helping me feel better mentally. It's Thanksgiving weekend, so we will collect chestnuts for decorations. The ones around here aren't edible. Oh, okay. Oh, really? They're not edible. Tim says, you're still in the heat wave. LOL. Top daytime temp is around 15°C now. Ooh. Sarah says, weather check in Melbourne, Australia, low of 12, high of 21, 71% humidity. It's spring here. Beautiful. Sounds wonderful. 14B says, some people can float, but a routine is a boat. There's a rhyme for you. I love that. Some people can float, but a routine is a boat. Tim, how do you like them? That's nice. Tim says, if I don't have some sort of routine, then I'm more likely to put things off, as I can easily say I will have time tomorrow. So Tim, maybe that's the key. You have things that you could put off. Maybe people that don't have a routine don't have things that they want or need to do necessarily, other than time killers. 14B says, that's really funny. The retired man's clock. Great idea and symbol. Yeah, I should market them, huh? Tim says, on the clock, listen to the number of chimes, then move the hour hand forward, not backward, to the hour it chimes. I've tried that. It doesn't work. It's because in fact, it did it about 3 days ago for a short period of time. It chimed the correct time at the hour. It was 4 o'clock. It chimed 4 times, and then at the half hour it chimed 1, and then it went back to its nonsense. So it's got a mind of its own. But that's what I get. It's a 100-year-old clock, but I bought it for $10. So, and I love it just the way it is. All right, everybody, I reached the end of my comments. I'm going to sign off for today, go to the mountains, have some serious thinking about the situation. It's not my situation, but the situation. I'll have a serious talk with my wife about it as well. There's more developments happening this morning that I haven't told her about. There might be some changes coming about in my life, not permanent changes to my life necessarily, but kind of like changes that I might change my life in a way, maybe in significant ways, in order to be helpful with this situation. Let's see what happens. So don't be surprised if I won't talk any more than that, though. Mind of its own. Yep. Tim says thank you to me and goodbye to all. 14B says have a good day, Kurt. 14B says goodbye to everybody. Crystal says good luck with your situation, whatever that may be. Thank you, Crystal. I really appreciate it. It's a big one. Tim says have a great day. Be safe, but not too safe, everybody. Bye-bye. Goodbye, Evelyn.